Have you ever noticed how easily we give parts of ourselves away? Every thought, every emotion, every small victory, we rush to share it, post it, explain it, as if the world needs to see every corner of our inner life to validate that it's real. But here's the truth that most people forget. Not everything within you deserves to be public. Your inner world, your thoughts, your pain, your dreams, that's sacred territory. It's the place where you grow, where you fight silent battles, where you build the version of yourself no one else fully understands yet. And when you expose it too soon, you weaken it. Think about it. A seed only grows in the dark, protected by the soil. If you dig it up every day just to show people its progress, it will never take root. The same is true for your soul, your plans, and your healing. In a world that constantly rewards oversharing, silence has become a rare form of strength. We've mistaken visibility for validation, and the more we show, the less we actually feel. But Stoic wisdom reminds us, peace isn't found in being seen, it's found in being centered. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He meant that what happens inside you shapes who you are far more than what the world sees outside. So guard it. Don't let every opinion, every comment, every social trend stain your mind with noise. Ask yourself, when was the last time you sat in silence and truly listened to your own thoughts without sharing them, without explaining them, just listening? That's where self-awareness begins. That's where strength is built. You don't need to post your piece to prove you have it. You don't need to broadcast your goals to make them real. The most powerful transformations happen in private when no one is watching. Think of the monk who meditates in the mountains, the artist who paints long before the world knows their name, the athlete who trains in the quiet hours before sunrise. They all understand one thing: growth needs protection. Guarding your inner world isn't about hiding, it's about honoring. You protect what you value. You keep sacred what gives you life. And in doing so, you gain something even more valuable than attention. You gain peace. The next time you feel the urge to share everything, pause. Ask yourself, am I sharing this for connection or for validation? If it's the latter, take a breath and return to stillness. Your silence doesn't make you distant, it makes you powerful. Because peace isn't loud, it's quietly unshakable. So let the world wonder what's going on inside you. Let your calm confuse their chaos. Let your actions, your consistency, your presence speak louder than your words ever could. Guard your inner world. Because when your inner world is whole, no storm outside can break you. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable silence can be? We rush to fill it with words, with noise, with explanations. Because silence makes us feel exposed, uncertain, maybe even small. But here's a truth the wise have always known. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is strength. A wise person speaks little and listens deeply, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've learned the value of stillness before sound. In silence, you hear what others miss. You see what noise hides. You begin to understand yourself, the moment, and the truth underneath the surface. We live in a world that rewards loudness. Everyone wants to be heard, to be seen, to prove a point. But when everyone's shouting, the quiet one becomes the most powerful voice in the room. Because silence draws attention not through volume, but through presence. Think about it. The calm leader who speaks last. The friend who listens before offering advice. The person who pauses before reacting, who chooses to understand instead of explode. That restraint, that patience, that's real power. Seneca once said, "It is a great thing to know when to speak and when to be silent." And it's true. Most people speak to be heard. The wise speak to bring clarity. Every word has weight because it's chosen carefully, not thrown carelessly. When you stop rushing to respond, you start to perceive the deeper layers of what's happening. You notice tone, intention, emotion, the things hidden between words. You give yourself time to breathe, to think, to respond instead of react. And that moment, that pause, can change everything. Silence also protects your peace. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding or prove your worth in every conversation. Sometimes, silence is the loudest statement of confidence. It says, "I don't need to convince you. I know who I am." The Stoics understood this. They practiced suspension of judgment, the ability to stay quiet until truth reveals itself. Because not every situation needs your voice. Some need your patience, some need your calm, and some simply need your silence. When you learn to be still, you start hearing life differently. You notice how much energy is wasted on meaningless noise, gossip, drama, endless debates. But when you pull back, when you choose silence, you create space for something deeper to emerge. Clarity, focus, peace. The next time you feel that impulse to speak, pause. Ask yourself, is this coming from wisdom or from ego? Because the ego speaks quickly, the wise speak slowly. The ego needs to win, the wise seek to understand. There's an old saying, a tiger doesn't announce it's a tiger, it moves in silence. That's the kind of quiet strength Stoicism teaches, the strength that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. Because when you are grounded in truth, silence becomes your armor. So today, try practicing this simple Stoic habit. Say less, observe more, listen fully. You'll find that silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. In a noisy world, being calm, being quiet, being still, that's your superpower. Let your silence speak for you, because true strength doesn't shout, it simply is. Have you ever noticed how freely we let people walk into our lives, into our thoughts, our emotions, our peace, as if there's no door, no boundary, no filter at all? We often forget that not everyone deserves access to us. Your life is sacred space, and sacred spaces aren't open to the public. You see, your time, your energy, your mind, these are limited resources. They're like the air you breathe or the food you eat. When you let the wrong people consume them, you slowly starve your own spirit. Some people come into your life to bring peace. Others come to test it. Some leave you lighter. Others drain you until you forget what peace even feels like. And the truth is, it's not your job to fix, to please, or to keep everyone comfortable. It's your job to protect your inner world. Think of your mind as a house. Would you leave your front door open all night, letting anyone walk in? Of course not. You'd protect it not because you're cold or selfish, but because what's inside is valuable. Your dreams, your peace, your growth, they're not meant for everyone to touch. Stoic philosophy teaches us discernment, the ability to recognize who truly deserves a seat at your table. Epictetus said, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, because the energy around you becomes the energy within you. When you surround yourself with noise, chaos, and negativity, you start to absorb it, even if you don't realize it. But when you choose carefully, when you share your presence with people who listen, who respect, who bring calm instead of confusion, your life begins to feel lighter. You grow faster. You rest deeper. You begin to experience peace not as a moment, but as a way of living. So ask yourself, who drains you, who distracts you from your values, who makes you doubt your own worth? And most importantly, why are they still allowed to stay? It's not cruelty to close the door. It's wisdom. It's self-respect. Because protecting your peace doesn't mean building walls. It means setting gates that open for those who bring light and close for those who bring shadows. I used to believe that being a good person meant saying yes to everyone. But I learned the hard way that saying yes to everyone is the fastest way to say no to yourself. You can love people from a distance. You can forgive without reconnecting. You can care without losing yourself in the process. Not everyone deserves to know your story, your plans, your heart. Some people haven't earned the right to stand that close to your truth. Remember this, access to you is a privilege, not a right. And when you start treating it that way, life becomes quieter, clearer, stronger. So protect your space, guard your energy, be generous with kindness but selective with access, because your peace is sacred, your presence is sacred, and sacred things are not meant for everyone. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to share everything these days? Where we are, what we're doing, what we're feeling, it's all out there in seconds. We post, we update, we overshare. But have you ever stopped and asked yourself why? Why do we feel that need to constantly be seen, heard, and validated? It's the ego, that restless little voice inside that whispers, if they don't see me, do I even matter? It tricks us into thinking visibility equals value, that attention means importance. But that's the trap. The more we crave to be seen, the more we lose sight of ourselves. We start shaping our lives not around what's meaningful, but around what's noticeable. We start living for applause instead of authenticity. A Stoic would say, what you share should serve truth, not vanity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, never meant for anyone else to read, because his goal wasn't to impress others, but to understand himself. That's real strength, doing the inner work quietly without needing witnesses. Let me ask you this. How often do you share something not because you want to, but because you want to be seen doing it? We all do it sometimes, the humble brag, the subtle flex, the look how mindful I am post. But every time we feed that impulse, we trade a bit of our peace for approval that never lasts. Real confidence doesn't broadcast. It moves in silence, steady and grounded. It doesn't need to prove anything because it already knows its worth. So, maybe today practice a small act of rebellion. Keep something for yourself. An achievement, a thought, a quiet joy, something that doesn't need to be shared. Let it live only in your world, because the less you need to be seen, the more clearly you'll start to see yourself. Have you ever said something and immediately wished you hadn't? Maybe it was a reaction in anger, a comment to fill an awkward pause, or a piece of gossip disguised as conversation. We've all been there. Words fly out before wisdom catches up. But here's a question worth asking, one that can change the way you move through life. Will this add peace or just more noise? We live in a world that rewards noise, the loudest opinions, the constant updates, the endless chatter. But silence is where understanding grows. It's where clarity lives. It's where the mind can actually breathe. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Because when you speak without thinking, you're not communicating, you're reacting. And reaction is noise. Think about the last time someone spoke to you with calm intention. Not to win, not to prove, not to fill space, but simply to bring truth or comfort. You probably remember it, because real words that improve silence, they linger. Every conversation is a chance to either elevate or clutter the moment. And you get to choose which one it becomes. Before speaking, pause for just a second. Ask yourself, is this kind? Is it necessary? Is it true? And most importantly, will this add peace or noise? Sometimes the strongest presence in the room is the one that doesn't rush to speak. Because silence, when chosen intentionally, is an emptiness, it's power under control. So maybe today, let your silence do the teaching. Let your calmness speak louder than your words. And when you finally decide to speak, make sure your words make the silence better, not worse. Because wisdom doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply knows when to stay quiet. Have you ever shared something deeply personal, only to feel misunderstood, judged, or even dismissed? It hurts, doesn't it? Because what you shared wasn't just words, it was a piece of your truth. And not everyone knows how to hold that truth with care. This is why protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's essential. Your energy is like a sacred flame. It fuels your peace, your purpose, and your ability to grow. But if you let everyone near it, some will warm their hands, and others will burn it out. There's a powerful Stoic idea that says, don't hand your peace to anyone who doesn't know its value. Because some people don't listen to understand, they listen to respond, to judge, or to gossip. And every time you let those people into your emotional space, you give away a piece of your calm. So, learn to notice who drains you and who restores you. After spending time with someone, ask yourself, do I feel lighter or heavier? That question alone can reveal who deserves your truth and who doesn't. Protecting your energy also means learning when silence is strength. You don't owe explanations to everyone. You don't have to prove your worth, your feelings, or your dreams. Sometimes the best response is simply to walk away quietly with dignity intact. Think of it like tending a garden. You wouldn't let anyone trample the soil or pull out the roots you've nurtured. Your inner peace deserves the same protection. Guard it, water it. Let only those who bring light step inside, because not everyone can hold your truth gently. But those who can, those rare souls who listen without trying to fix or judge, they're worth keeping close. At the end of the day, your energy defines the quality of your life. So be careful who you share it with. Protect it not out of fear, but out of love for yourself and for the peace you've worked so hard to build. In a world obsessed with noise, with showing, posting, proving, silence has become a rare form of power. Everyone seems to be talking about what they're going to do, what they plan to become, or what they deserve. But here's a truth that time and wisdom never fail to prove. Real strength doesn't need to announce itself. The Stoics believed that the greatest progress happens quietly, far from the spotlight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And that's it, the essence of mastery. While others talk, you build. While others seek validation, you sharpen your craft. While others crave attention, you focus on evolution. Think about it. The tree doesn't brag about its growth, it simply grows, silently breaking through the soil, reaching toward the sun. Your growth works the same way. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, patience over pride, or effort over excuses, you're growing. And that progress, even if no one notices it right now, will eventually echo louder than any words could. So let your work speak for you. Let your actions carry your story. Because when you move in silence, you move with purpose. There's no need to prove anything to the world, just prove it to yourself day by day. And here's the beauty of it. When your life begins to change, people won't need an explanation. They'll feel the difference in your presence. They'll see it in your consistency, your calm, your results. Because self-mastery doesn't shout, it radiates. So today, instead of saying what you'll do, do it. Instead of announcing your goals, live them. Let the quiet progress of your discipline become the story no one can deny. Because the truth is, words fade, but the proof of your actions remains. And when your actions speak, the world will have no choice but to listen. Have you ever caught yourself posting something online and then waiting for a like, a comment, some kind of sign that says, yes, you matter? We've all done it because deep down, every human being wants to be seen, heard, and accepted. But here's the quiet truth most people never realize. What you constantly try to show the world often reveals what you secretly feel is missing. When we need validation, we start performing. We post to prove, speak to impress, and chase approval like it's oxygen. But the more you seek it, the less free you become. Because validation is a drug. It feels good in the moment, but it keeps you dependent on other people's opinions to feel whole. The Stoics had a different way of living. They believed that peace comes not from being seen by others, but from being true to yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinions than our own." And that's the trap. We crave approval so badly that we start living someone else's version of our life. Ask yourself, who are you when no one's watching? When there are no cameras, no followers, no applause, that's your truest self. And the more you learn to honor that person, the less you'll need validation from anyone else. True confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to prove, it doesn't need to announce, it doesn't even need to explain. It simply is. When you act from self-respect instead of insecurity, people can feel it. And ironically, that's when real respect begins to show up. So the next time you feel the urge to share something just to be noticed, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I expressing or am I seeking? One comes from freedom, the other from fear. Let your worth be defined by your character, not by the claps of the crowd. Because the world's approval fades quickly, but self-acceptance lasts a lifetime. And maybe that's the highest form of peace. To walk through the world not needing anyone to tell you who you are, because you already know. There's something powerful about keeping your dreams to yourself. In a world where everyone feels the need to announce every move, every plan, every big thing coming soon, silence has become almost rebellious. But here's a timeless truth. The goals that matter most should be protected, not promoted. When you speak too soon about your dreams, you invite noise, opinions, doubts, envy, expectations. And that noise can dilute your focus. It's like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to check if it's growing. It won't. Growth requires patience, privacy, and trust in the unseen process. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that inner strength thrives in stillness, that true progress doesn't need witnesses. Because the more you talk about what you'll do, the more your mind begins to feel as if you've already done it. You lose momentum before you even begin. Think of the most disciplined people you know. They don't broadcast their grind, they just show up. They move quietly, consistently, purposefully. And one day, their results speak so loudly that explanations become unnecessary. So guard your goals like sacred ground. Not because you're hiding something, but because you respect the energy it takes to build something real. Let your ambition grow in the dark, like roots deepening before the first sprout breaks through the soil. When it finally does, it will be unshakable because it was built away from noise and distraction. Ask yourself this: do you want to look like you're winning, or do you actually want to win? The first one seeks attention. The second one seeks mastery. So today, work quietly. Protect your goals. Say less, do more. Let your results be your voice, because when the time is right, your success will make all the noise you'll ever need. And that's the Stoic way: progress without performance, purpose without permission. Imagine this, someone cuts you off in traffic. Your heart jumps, your hands clench the wheel, your mind races. For a moment, that stranger, a person you'll never see again, owns your peace. Why? Because they controlled your reaction. Now, imagine responding differently. You breathe, you let it go, you keep driving. You don't lose a single second of calm. That's not weakness, that's mastery. Because emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about choosing how you respond. The Stoics believe that freedom doesn't come from controlling the world, but from controlling yourself within it. You can't stop storms from coming, but you can learn how to stand still in the rain. And that, right there, is peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Every time you react impulsively in anger, fear, jealousy, you give that power away. But when you pause, breathe, and choose your response consciously, you take that power back. Think of emotional control like steering a ship. The waves will come, people will test you, life will surprise you, pain will visit. You can't control the sea, but you can control the direction of your sails. And that's what separates those who drift from those who navigate. Ask yourself, how often do I let small things steal big pieces of my peace? A rude comment, a delay, a misunderstanding, these are tiny storms. But if you let every one of them shake you, you'll never reach calm waters. Emotional control is not coldness, it's wisdom. It's knowing that you can feel deeply without being ruled by what you feel, responding with intention instead of reaction. So the next time life tries to provoke you, pause, take one breath. Remind yourself, I control what happens inside me. Because the moment you master your reaction, you master your peace. And when you master your peace, you become untouchable. That's the quiet superpower of emotional control, the kind of strength that doesn't shout but shines. Have you ever felt that urge, that burning impulse to defend yourself right away? Someone misunderstands you, spreads a rumor, or questions your motives, and every part of you wants to explain, to fight back, to set the record straight. But here's the truth, sometimes silence says far more than any defense ever could. Because time has a way of revealing what words cannot. When emotions run high, our judgment runs low. In the heat of the moment, words become weapons, sharp, reactive, and often regrettable. But when you step back, stay calm, and let time do the talking, truth eventually surfaces, clear and undeniable. The Stoics taught this again and again. Patience is not weakness, it's wisdom in slow motion. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Sometimes that means saying nothing at all, trusting that reality will reveal what your tongue doesn't need to defend. Think about it, the people who always rush to explain themselves often appear uncertain, desperate for approval. But the ones who remain still, grounded, unshaken, they radiate strength. They don't chase validation because they know that truth doesn't need to sprint, it endures. There's a kind of quiet power in patience. When you choose silence over reaction, you shift from defending your ego to protecting your peace. And over time, your actions, your consistency, your calm, they tell the real story. Let's be honest, the hardest thing to do is nothing. To stay silent when you're wrong, to wait when you want to prove your point. But every time you resist that urge, you strengthen your inner fortress. Because truth is like sunlight, it doesn't need to shout, it just needs time to rise. So the next time you feel misunderstood or falsely accused, pause. Breathe, ask yourself, do I need to prove anything right now, or can I let time reveal what's real? Patience isn't passive, it's an act of deep confidence. It says, I know who I am, and I don't need to rush to prove it. Because in the end, what time reveals lasts, and what words defend often fades. Let time speak for you, it's the most honest voice you'll ever have. In today's world, everyone is talking. Everyone wants to be seen, to be known, to be understood. We post, we share, we explain, until there's nothing left unseen, nothing left sacred. But have you noticed, the people who truly captivate us, the ones who draw quiet respect, aren't always the loudest in the room. They carry an air of mystery, not because they're hiding something, but because they understand that silence has power. In a world obsessed with exposure, the wise choose restraint. They know that depth doesn't come from telling everything you know, it comes from holding what matters, letting others wonder. Mystery is not deception, it's dignity. It's knowing that your inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, your dreams deserve to be treated as sacred ground, not public property. Think about the ocean. It's vast, deep, and awe-inspiring, not because it shows everything on its surface, but because so much of it remains unseen. That's what gives it power, and people are the same. When you keep a little mystery, when you don't rush to fill every silence, others begin to listen differently. They lean in. They respect what they can't quite grasp. Philosophers and sages throughout history have understood this. They spoke less, but when they did, every word carried weight. Because silence shapes meaning, it gives space for truth to echo. As Lao Tzu said, those who know do not speak, those who speak do not know. It's not that you should never share, it's that wisdom knows when not to. Ask yourself, when was the last time you let someone discover you slowly? When was the last time you allowed curiosity to grow instead of explaining everything right away? We often fear being misunderstood, so we over-explain. But the more we talk, the more we dilute our essence. Depth requires silence, because silence invites reflection from you and from others. And mystery commands respect, not through control, but through presence. You don't have to reveal everything to be authentic. You can be real without being exposed. You can be known without being predictable. So, in your conversations, in your relationships, in your online presence, leave some space. Let people sense the ocean within you, not just the waves on the surface. Because in a world desperate for attention, the rarest thing you can be is quietly profound. In a world that constantly demands your reaction, every notification, every opinion, every piece of breaking news, stillness feels almost unnatural. We scroll, we respond, we defend, we argue. But the more we react, the less we see. There's a hidden strength in observing without immediately responding. It's the strength of awareness, the ability to watch life unfold without rushing to control it. Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger only to regret it later? Or made a decision too quickly only to realize you didn't see the full picture? That's the cost of reaction. It robs you of clarity. But when you pause, when you watch instead of react, something changes. You start to see things as they are, not as your emotions paint them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." That's not apathy, it's power. Because in that space of silence, you become harder to manipulate, harder to provoke. You start living with intention instead of impulse. When you observe more, you learn more. You start to notice small details, the tone in someone's voice, the tension in their posture, the truth behind their words. You begin to understand what's really happening beneath the surface. And that awareness, quiet, patient, grounded, gives you an advantage that noise can't. Try this. The next time someone challenges you, don't react right away. Pause, watch their face. Listen not to their words, but to their energy. You'll often realize it's not about you, it's about them. Observation is not weakness, it's wisdom in motion. It's what separates those who are controlled by the world from those who quietly shape it. Every great thinker, every true leader, every calm soul you've ever admired, they share this one trait. They watch more than they speak. They listen more than they argue. And because of that, their words, when they finally speak, matter. So take a step back from the noise today. Don't announce your every thought. Don't react to every spark. Just observe. You'll be amazed how much the world reveals itself when you simply stop trying to prove your place in it. Because the one who observes already understands. In our fast-moving world, words often fly out of us before thought can even catch up. We respond in anger, we interrupt in excitement, we speak to fill silence, and yet, how often do we regret what we've said? There's a reason ancient philosophers and modern thinkers alike emphasize stillness before speech. When words are born from chaos, they scatter. When words are born from calm, they resonate. Imagine for a moment, a heated conversation, voices rising, hearts racing. Now pause just for a breath. Notice how the space between thoughts creates clarity. In that quiet, your mind filters the noise, your intentions crystallize, and your words carry meaning rather than reaction. Speaking from stillness is not about holding back or staying silent out of fear. It's about choosing when to speak and letting your inner calm guide your message. It's the difference between shouting into the storm and gently steering the wind. Think about leaders you admire, the ones whose advice you remember, whose stories stay with you. Rarely are their words hurried or forced. They speak with intention, letting silence shape their speech. And because of this, their words carry weight. They inspire, they guide, they heal. Even in everyday life, this principle works wonders. Before replying to a stressful email, before confronting someone in anger, before offering advice, pause. Let the stillness settle. Ask yourself, Am I speaking from my center or from my frustration? This small pause creates a ripple effect. Your words become thoughtful, your actions more deliberate, your presence more grounding for those around you. There's profound power in speaking less, but when you do speak, making every word count. The world is noisy, opinions are loud, and distractions are constant, but stillness is rare, and that rarity gives your voice authority. It's not about impressing others. It's about aligning your words with your inner peace. When your speech flows from calm, it reaches deeper, moves hearts, and fosters connection that chaos never can. So, start today. Notice the spaces between your thoughts, the pauses before your replies. Speak only when your words rise from your center, not from the storm around you. Because the one who speaks from stillness doesn't just communicate, they resonate. And in a world that never stops talking, that is a power few truly understand. Have you ever noticed how loud the world is, yet how quietly your own voice can get lost in the noise? Everywhere we turn, there are notifications, opinions, advice, and endless chatter. And in all that sound, it's easy to forget the simplest, most powerful truth. Real peace doesn't come from being heard, it comes from being present with yourself. Silence is often underestimated. We think quiet means empty, stillness means nothing is happening. But the truth is, silence is fertile ground. It's where clarity grows, where perspective emerges, where your inner voice finally speaks above the din. When you learn to embrace quiet moments, you start to notice patterns in your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, things that get lost when life is loud. Think about it. When was the last time you spent 10 minutes completely alone, without a screen, without distraction, just sitting with yourself? No agenda, no external pressure, just you and the subtle rhythm of your own mind. In that space, you begin to hear your real priorities, your real fears, and your real desires. You realize that much of what you thought you needed to react to or control was noise that never deserved your energy. Silence is also a teacher. It teaches patience, reflection, and self-respect. By becoming quieter, we learn to listen more deeply, not just to others, but to ourselves. And when you truly hear yourself, you make decisions not from fear, impulse, or comparison, but from your own centered wisdom. There's a profound freedom in this. You start recognizing the difference between what truly matters and what is simply distraction. You notice the subtle joy in small moments, a sunrise, the sound of rain, the rhythm of your own breath. Peace grows naturally when you stop rushing to fill every moment with noise, when you stop letting the outside world dictate your inner state. And here's the paradox. The quieter you become, the more your presence matters. People notice the calm in you even if they don't understand it. Your silence becomes a statement, not a loud declaration, but a quiet power that commands respect and creates influence in the most subtle, profound ways. So, start small. Give yourself permission to step back from the noise. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and just listen. Notice your thoughts, your feelings, the stillness within. Let silence remind you who you are beyond the chaos of the world. Because in the quiet, you don't just escape noise. You discover your own voice, your own peace, your own truth. And that perhaps is the most powerful sound of all.